Hi there and welcome back to a new video. This time I'm gonna be doing a little unboxing and a quick review of my first impressions of the ARTEZA 60 pack wash colors. I got them for myself last week. I wanted to do a quick review on them because there's a lot going on with ARTEZA lately. I mean, a lot of reviews going on. They have so many art supplies and most of them are really affordable in a medium quality. I mean, they're not low quality, so they're really affordable for where they are, and I wanted to give it a go. I've been wanting to have some variety on wash tones for quite a while because right now I have a little pack of 5 tones, black, white and the 3 primary colors that I needed to get for uni a few years back, and it's been great. I mean, I like mixing colors and they look great, but I wanted some more variety, and there's always some tones that you can't really get by mixing. Well, the 60 pack looked like a really great deal, so you will be seeing me unboxing them and checking them out, and you can see there's a lot of paint in there. There's a lot of variation and a lot of tones, and I'm gonna be swatching them too, and you're gonna see a little clip of that and also a little painting I did to properly try them on. And I'll talk about some of the things I've realized so far, but I'm gonna be using them, and I'm gonna wait for a couple of weeks and then I'll write a blog post with this and some more things that I might have realized. I'll link it down below once it's up, so if you're seeing this and it's been a while since I've published it, it might be up. If not, you can always subscribe to my blog and I'll send you an update when that's up. I'll leave a link for the blog too on the description below. Let's start with some negatives that I've found. I haven't found that much, but I have found some. And the first thing that kind of disappointed me was how many pearlescent colors they were in the pack. I mean, of course it's a 60 pack, so there's gonna be quite some variety, but there's around 11 tones, which for me honestly is quite a bit much because I'm not a big fan of pearlescent tones. I've used them in the past and I loved them, but right now I'm not in that kind of a phase. So the thing with them is that, especially with wash, I mean, I like wash because of how it looks. I mean, the opacity it has, and it looks kind of chalky, and I like that. And with the pearlescent tones, of course, they don't look like that, they shine. So it's a bit of a weird mix for my taste. The good thing about them is that most of them are not as transparent as expected. They're quite opaque, most of them, not all, so that's a good thing. But what I've thought when I was trying them is that some tones will be much nicer if they were opaque, because there's some really beautiful tones that for me were ruined by being pearlescent. But hey, that's just my thoughts. If you like pearlescent tones, then that's great. One thing I want to mention on the negatives, but I haven't really confirmed yet, is that I've heard some comments complaining about the transparency of a few of the tones, especially because wash is supposed to be opaque. I've heard some comments complaining about this. So here I'm not really surprised, because in every set of colors, be them oils or acrylics or whatever, there's always some colors, I think it depends on the pigments and such, that sometimes are more transparent just because of that. So I don't think this is a big deal, and maybe you can just apply more layers. I don't know, maybe these people... I mean, with wash you have to be careful with how much water you add to it. You need to add a tiny bit of water, but not too much, and if you add too much, then it's not opaque anymore, because you kind of can use them as watercolors. So I feel like maybe these people have done that, and maybe that's why they think it's very transparent. I'll keep testing this and I'll update it in the post of the blog if I see this, because of course I haven't used all of the tones by now. That's the thing I wanted to mention, but I'll confirm that when I actually have tried all or almost all of the tones. And now let's move to the positives. So of course it's a 60 pack. I've already mentioned that. Yeah, I think so. And there's a huge variety of tones. I mean, I think it's pretty well distributed. There's probably like 8 or between 6 and 8 blues, around the same number of greens. There's quite a few browns, counting lighter coffee browns, and quite a few reds, variety of yellows and oranges, and some pinkish, purplish tones too. So I think that's pretty great. That's a really good variety. And I think they're pretty well distributed, because sometimes you can find like a lot of greens and then really little reds, for example. So I think it's pretty good. And if not, you can always mix some of them. There's also 2 whites. I believe this is because one of them is better for mixing and the other one to apply it like that, because one of them might have a bit of a hue, underneath hue, maybe. I think it was because of that. I don't know exactly, I haven't researched this before the video. A thing that I really like is that I'm into pastel tones for wash lately, and there's a ton of them. There's really probably more than 10 pastel tones that I'm loving in this set, so that's a huge big yes for me, because I've been dying to use more pastel tones on wash and now I don't have to mix them, so that's really good. For example, I'm seeing now there's a beautiful green pastel tone that I really love, coral one, and a few pinks. I'm not a huge fan of pink, but honestly in kind of pastel pinks are really beautiful. Several browns too, that pastel kind of tan toffee tones that are really beautiful too. So that's great too. Also there's a few, not many, but there's a few really bright ones. And as this is kind of difficult to get by mixing too, I find this as a big plus. There's a really bright lime green, orange, and kind of a bubblegum pink that is really saturated. So that's really good if you are into that. I'm honestly not that much into it, but I know it's kind of a difficult thing to find sometimes, so I feel like that's a plus. And you never know when you might use them. Also, I've realized one thing with wash is they usually eat lighters after dry, most of the times, so you can't really trust the tone when it's wet, but I found that with the lighter pastel tones, well, pastel tones and all of other light tones, it doesn't change that much as it usually does, so that's great. With the dark ones it still happens, but that's pretty common, so I'm not really surprised, and I don't really consider this as a pro or a con, but I wanted to mention it. Oh, also one last thing I think is that I find that the consistency of the paint is quite good. I've heard comments about this too, I don't remember if good or bad, but I find that the consistency is quite good. Maybe because I'm comparing it to my previous pack, which wasn't a bad quality wash, but I've had it for quite some time and it's a bit dry now, so it's harder you need to add more water and it's harder to mix and such. Compared to that, I find that the consistency of this paint is quite good. And I believe that's all, at least for now. As you see, I've only used it for one piece, and I have a bit of a different technique, as I don't use layer over layer. I usually go over with different tones and finding different things. I like to do this with the wash. I use it kind of as a completely different medium, and I work completely different with watercolors or other mediums. And maybe it's a bit different if you're using it layer over layer, but when I use it on black paper you can really see the transparency and all of that, so I believe this one is pretty good. And some of them were more transparent because I was mixing too much water on purpose, so that's fine. Because it's really hot here in Spain, we have a heat wave coming on, and the wash dries so fast that I was adding too much water, and sometimes it was too watery at first, but 2 minutes later it was perfect, so that's the reason why sometimes it was a bit watery. But that's it. I hope you like the piece, and I'll be adding prints soon in my shops if you are interested. I'll be leaving links down below, and I hope this helped you a bit. I'm gonna leave a link down below. I believe I have a code for a 10% off on ARTEZA shop, but if not, you can also find them on Amazon. I believe they send everywhere, so that's also good. I'll leave links to it down below too if you want to check it out and purchase something for yourself. So that's all, and as I said, I will be posting an updated version of this on my blog, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. I hope you like it. Give it a thumbs up if you find this useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!